So if you didn't learn how to show affection while growing up, that's okay. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Hey Wesley. I'm Wesley, your girl counselor, mindset coach, and most importantly to me, woman of God, here to bring you another episode full of encouragement. So I feel like I talk about my hair every episode. So y'all see this retwist who's watching on YouTube? Y'all who are listening on the podcast, you just might have to hop over on YouTube later and watch this again because your girl's retwist is looking real good right now. So I guess you guys can tell that I decided not to comb out my locks yet. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but now that I actually took the time to retwist my hair because I was kind of on strike for the past few months, it's here to stay for now. So I don't know why I just feel like updating you guys on my hair because I know you guys can see the difference. But anyways, if you guys didn't catch last week's episode, make sure you go back and tune in. We really in the swing of things now. Last week we talked about 4 hidden faces of pride because pride be interfering with the intimate relationships we're trying to have with other people, okay? And sometimes we don't even know when it's in the mix. So last week we talked about 4 hidden faces of pride. We unmasked it and we talked about some tips that you can do to make sure that you're not operating in those areas of pride. So today we're actually going to continue this discussion of relationships. So before I jump into today's topic, if you want to write Wesley to receive encouragement through the podcast, I got you. There's information in the details of today's episode. But yes, guys, today let's continue this discussion of relationships. Today I'm going to share with you 5 important relationship types that you need to have in your life that I highly, highly, highly suggest. And this topic came about after talking to a new friend of mine where we were just talking about relationships and just connecting with others and sometimes things hitting and not hitting. And it reminded me of an old conversation that I had with my counselor, my dog, Mr. Shane, who ended up asking me during a pivotal time in my life, what it meant for someone to be considered my friend. And it opened the door to a whole bunch of exploration that I did in regards to relationships. And to take it even back, to take it even further, I want to explain to you guys where I was to where I'm at now so you can better understand why I'm highly encouraging you to have these 5 different types of relationships in your life because it's really, really changed my life, right? And I'm here to absorb, to pour out. So to take it back in elementary school, I was a part of a crew of friends. In high school, I was part of multiple crew of friends. I played a lot of sports. I just always had a big group of friends that I was a part of. But there was this time in college where once again I had a big group of friends. It was like a crew of like 15 women. And I remember there was a point in time junior year that I felt really, really lonely. It was like I was in a room full of people. There's so many people that I could hang out with, that I could call, but I felt so lonely. So then I ended up growing a best friend in one person. And then after that, getting in a relationship for a few years and had like a best friend. But when that relationship ended, I recognized that I almost felt that loneliness again, even though I still had a whole bunch of people around me. And I wonder if you guys can relate. If you've ever been in a point in your life where you just felt really lonely, even though you had a lot of people around you, or maybe you don't have a lot of people around you. But in either instances, if you have people around you or you feel like you don't have people around you, that loneliness feeling is due to the lack of these forms of relationships that I'm going to go over with you guys. And I had to learn through my counseling and through reading and through exploring over the past few years that I didn't know what it meant for someone to be considered a friend of mine. I just knew that I got along with almost anyone I ever spoke with. So it was just easy when someone just invited me to their group or invited me to their event. But I didn't really know until I was questioned what it meant for me to consider someone my friend. And I ask you that same question. What does it take for someone to be considered your friend? Is it just about you guys enjoying the same things, the quality time together? What characteristics? What are the needs? What do you consider a friend of yours? And that's important to start there if you haven't already. But I want to expand that and talk about 5 relationship types that are really important to have in your life so that you can feel more fulfilled. Not just about the quantity, but the quality. And that's what I was missing at that time in college, where I was just like, yo, all these people around me, but why I feel lonely? And it doesn't make sense. It's because I wasn't being filled in a way that I was needing to, even though many of the people around me could have filled that and are kind of feeling that now, because I pretty much have some of the same friends from college, but God blessed me with even more, especially in this current season. So let's talk about 5 important relationships that I'm encouraging you to explore to have in your life. And the first one is a relationship with yourself. This is something I didn't have in college. But number one is definitely for you to have a relationship with yourself. And that looks like getting to know you. What is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? Spending quality time with you, maybe writing in your journal. I do video journals, so I literally talk to myself all the time. I love talking to me. Or taking yourself out on adventures or activities. But it's so important for you to know you. Ask yourself questions. What's your favorite color to wear? Why do you like to wear that color? What's your favorite place to eat? Why do you like eating at that place? Because sometimes we don't realize the things that we think is us is what other people have told us or what our parents have told us. So now I encourage you to really grow a relationship with you. You are so amazing, and it's time for you to know it. So, for you to know how amazing you are, you got to spend time with you. You got to get to know you. And what I also believe is you got to also know what God put in you. So, as I was growing in my relationship with me, it was during the time that I was growing in my relationship with God. Like, God, who are you for real? What you really about? And as I better got to understand God, I better understood, like, oh, you created me. Oh, you did that. Oh, okay, God, I like what you're doing over here. So that's the first relationship that I encourage you to have. The second relationship that I encourage you to have in your life are people who are strong in the areas that you are weak. Y'all, this is a big one. Okay? Choose your spouse wisely. But no, in all seriousness, it's so important to have people strong in the areas that you're weak, because we got to be real. You came from a family just like I did that's not perfect. Our parents, our guardians are imperfect people. So there's certain areas in our lives that may not have been matured fully because we didn't get exposed to it. Let me further explain. For me, I grew up in a Haitian household. Haitian culture is very obedient, very respectful. So if my parents told me to do something, I just did it. I didn't really question them. So I grew up not really knowing how to tell people no. And it's not because my parents did anything wrong. I love how they raised me. But now it's my responsibility to mature the areas that I didn't really get from my childhood. And so it's important for me, Wesley, to surround myself with people who do know how to tell people no, because you want to be able to model the things that you don't know how to do by seeing other people do it. It's just like school. You know how when the teacher goes on the board and they show you, like, this is how you multiply, and they literally show you first and then you do it? It's the same thing with the areas in our lives that we haven't matured yet. So if you didn't learn how to show affection while growing up, that's okay. It's important for you to have a relationship with somebody in your life that did grow up knowing how to show affection, so you can model and see the times that they hug someone, see the times that they hold someone's hand, that you literally can watch and model how they show affection so you can better understand how you can. So that's a very, very important relationship to have in your life. And I highly encourage you to really assess yourself, to know the areas in which you are weaker in. Show yourself grace, because you ain't mean to not know how to do that. You just weren't exposed to it. But find people in your life that know how to do the thing that you don't, and start to watch and ask them questions so that you can grow that area. So that's number 2. So, the third type of relationship that I highly encourage you to have in your life are people who share your same interests. So this one's easy. This is what we usually see as a friend. Like, oh, I like rollerblading, you like rollerblading, then we're friends. So it is important that you have people in your life that share your same interests because they expand your experiences. Like, I love nature. My friends, my family, they know I love me some nature, okay? So the people in my life that I know that also love nature, we've traveled out of state, we've hiked mountains together, we've experienced things that we both would really enjoy, but it's even better that we didn't have to go alone. But I highly encourage you to make relationships with people who share your same interests. And that may also be like a stranger as well. So there's meetup groups, there's all these different platforms online that can help you connect with people that like the same thing that you like. So once again, I'm saying relationships and I'm trying to be careful not to say friend because some of these relationships may not actually even be your friends, but it's just important to have this form of relationship in your life. So that is number 3. So the fourth type of relationship that I highly encourage for you to have in your life is people that will hold you accountable. So we hear that all the time. My accountability partner, this person holds me accountable, but I want to explain it even more. So these are people who are curious enough to ask you questions, to follow up, right? And who really care to know how your results are going. Now, this isn't just for people who are helping you to obtain your goals. Like, you know how if you're wanting to like grow a business and someone's keeping you accountable, like, hey, did you budget out your funds yet? That's one thing. But accountability partners are also so important when you're trying to stop something that's hurting you, or stopping a habit, or stopping something that you really don't want to do anymore, but it's hard for you to figure it out on your own. Like, for example, if you struggle with something like pornography, that might be something that you don't want to struggle with alone, that you might tell somebody, like, hey, I'm really not trying to watch this anymore. I just need to let you know that this is something I'm trying to stop. And this form of relationship would be somebody that might follow up with you and be like, hey, how's your week been going? Or how many times or lack of times did you do this week? And you can celebrate, or you can be like, ah, man, you're right, I did slip up. But accountability relationships are so important for our growth. So it's not just for our goals, it's also for our healing. But we also want to be careful that we're not depending on that person to pull us through our healing. They're just keeping us aware that somebody else in the world knows that we're trying to heal this thing, so they can help us by checking in on us, right? So that's the fourth type of relationship that I highly encourage for you to have in your life. And number 5 is kind of split. It's a two-part answer. So the fifth type of relationship that I highly encourage that you have in your life are people who are where you want to be, and people who are where you used to be. And this is so important. So, for the people who are where you want to be, this could be a mentor, this could be a friend, this could be a family member, but you get encouraged by being in communication with those who are where you want to be, because they'll let you know, yes, I remember where I was, where you were at. This is what I did. And sometimes it's just encouraging in general to know that you ain't crazy, that somebody also went through what you went through and they're out of it. So it's so important to have those people to pick their brain about and ask them questions to know, like, how'd you feel about this? Or right now I'm struggling with this. Did you also struggle with that? So it's so important to have people in your life who are where you want to be. And this also works with if you're single, having friends in your life that are married. Because praise God, that's something that God's brought to my life now, where I've been meeting more people who are married and actually having conversations with them and being able to better understand the journey, or the ending of the journey of singleness entering into marriage. And then going to the other part of this last one, number 5, is having people in your life who are where you used to be. Now, this isn't to pull you back, right? This isn't to pull you back. This is so important to have because the Bible does say, after you've been shifted, to go back and strengthen your brethren. See, we get authority and power over the things that we overcome. You have authority and power over everything that you've overcome. Every hard season in your life, every hard situation that you're out of, you actually have power over that. And so if somebody else is struggling with something that you now have power over, you're able to help them in a way that nobody else can because they don't feel what y'all have felt. They don't understand it, right? The societal thing and what the enemy wants us to do is be ashamed of the things that we've experienced. For you to be ashamed and to hide the things that you used to go through. But guess what? That ain't you no more. You're a whole different person and you actually have power over the thing that you used to struggle with. And that is to help other people who are going through it, right? To be a mentor, to be an encourager, or just to be a listening ear, an empathetic ear to listen. Now, of course, do this with wisdom. If they're drawing you back to where you used to go, then maybe you have to set some boundaries where you don't talk about certain things or go as deep into certain things. But in general, it is so important that we're not selfish with our healing. That is literally what this whole podcast and this whole journey for me is about. I feel like God has brought me through a lot over the past, I don't even know, throughout my life, where I'm just like, yo, guys, guess what? Anxiety, guess what? This, guess what? You can get through this, you can get through that. And it's so exciting to me to give anybody tools that has helped me on my journey. And I think that's what we're meant to do here on earth, is to just really help each other out. So that is the fifth type of relationship that I highly encourage that you have in your life. So, guys, relationships are so important. I wasn't being fulfilled at the end of college because I wasn't pulling on the relationships around me based off of these types of forms. I only basically was just enjoying the company of everyone and our shared interests, but I wasn't picking the brains of those who already experienced things that I wanted to experience. I wasn't growing in the areas that I was immature in because at the time I didn't even know what I was immature in. I didn't know the areas in my life that were struggles. So I highly encourage you to take the time to get to know yourself. Get to know you. Enjoy your first and most important relationship, which is with yourself. And I believe that also connects with God. And then I also encourage you to surround yourself with people who are strong in the areas that you are weak, so you can model and copy and grow the areas that you were never exposed to earlier in your life. I highly encourage you to surround yourself with people who will hold you accountable, and then also people who share your same interests. And surround yourself with people who are where you want to be and those who are where you used to be, and you will feel fulfilled and you will not feel lonely. I'm pretty sure of that. So if you don't have these types of relationships in your life right now, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. This episode was just to encourage you. So you can always start with the relationship with yourself, because that is the most important. And maybe pray for God to bring these other types of relationships to you. Right? So I pray that your relationships be blessed and that you start finding new connections with people that do touch the different points of your needs in your life. But most importantly, I think you are amazing, and I can't wait for you to know you if you don't know you already. So if you guys made it to the end of this episode, don't forget to put a comment below with the cartwheel emoji, because that's my favorite. And if you want to write Wesley, there is details in today's episode of how you can do that. But as I always say, guys, continue loving on you. I'll continue loving on me. And let's be free. Bye, guys. I'll see you next week.